Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible stories ever told, the story of Prophet Yusuf. And listen, this is not just some old tale in a dusty book. This is a journey from betrayal to prison to power. I'm talking about family turning on you, hitting rock bottom, and then rising up to a position of unbelievable influence. It's got everything: jealousy, temptation, survival, resilience, and redemption. And the crazy part? Every piece of it still speaks to the struggles we face right now. You think life's been unfair to you? Wait till you hear what he went through. Betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a dark pit, sold off, locked away in prison, yet somehow he never lost faith, never lost himself. This isn't just history. It's human psychology, faith, and grit at the deepest level. You know, when I first heard the story of Prophet Yusuf, the thing that really hit me wasn't just the betrayal or the prison. It was how familiar it feels when you line it up with real life today. Because, let's be honest, betrayal is one of the hardest things a human being can go through. It cuts deeper than failure. Like, you can lose a fight, you can totally flop at something you've been working on, you can get fired from a job, but when someone you love, someone you trust turns on you, that's a whole different level of pain. And that's exactly what Yusuf faced. Not strangers, not enemies, his own brothers. I've had countless conversations with fighters, comedians, entrepreneurs on the podcast, and so many of them tell the same story. The moments that broke them were when the people closest to them stopped believing in them, or worse, actively tried to pull them down. Imagine working your whole life, and then the people you thought were in your corner laugh at your dreams or sell you out. That's betrayal. And in some weird way, it's universal. We've all tasted a little bit of it. Now, Yusuf gets thrown into a well, abandoned, then sold into slavery, and later he ends up in prison for something he didn't even do. But here's the part that blows my mind. He didn't let that destroy him. He didn't give up. And that's where it connects to us today. Because sure, most of us aren't literally locked in a prison, but a lot of us are living inside mental prisons. People are trapped in cycles of addiction, depression, self-doubt, or toxic environments that keep them chained just as tight as any set of bars. I've talked to veterans who came back from war and couldn't shake the trauma, guys who felt locked inside their own heads. I've spoken with comedians who spent years battling anxiety and self-sabotage, who felt like they'd never find a way out. And you hear this over and over, people stuck, suffocated, thinking that this cell they're in is permanent. But Yusuf shows us it's not. Patience and faith are like keys. He stayed true to his principles, trusted in a bigger plan, and even in prison, he kept using his gift to help people. And think about that. How many times do we bury our own talents, our own potential, just because life feels unfair? Yusuf's story reminds us that even in the darkest situations, you can still shine. He didn't wait to get out of prison to be valuable. He was valuable inside prison. And that mindset that you can still serve, still grow, still be disciplined, even when you're at rock bottom, that's something every single one of us can learn from. So yeah, betrayal hurts. Being trapped hurts. But what Yusuf teaches us, and what I've seen in some of the strongest people I've met, is that if you hold on to patience, faith, and your purpose, you're not just surviving, you're building the foundation for an unbelievable comeback. So let's set the stage. Prophet Yusuf's story starts when he's just a young boy, and right away you see how different he is. He has this dream. He sees 11 stars, the sun and the moon bowing down to him. That's not your average childhood dream, right? And when he tells it to his father, Yaqub, his dad instantly knows this kid is destined for something huge. Yaqub is a prophet himself, and he loves Yusuf deeply. But here's the thing. Sometimes that kind of love, that special attention, it creates tension. His brothers see it, they feel it, and jealousy starts to eat away at them. And man, jealousy is brutal. It's one of those emotions that can twist people up, make them do things they'd never imagine. You've probably seen it in real life. Families breaking apart because of envy, friends turning on each other because someone got a little more shine. For Yusuf's brothers, that jealousy grew to something dangerous. They didn't just get mad or distant, they plotted. Imagine that. Your own blood, your own family sitting together and saying, we need to get rid of him. That's a betrayal most of us can't even wrap our heads around. So they take Yusuf out one day, pretending like it's just a normal trip, maybe some fun with the brothers. But behind the smiles and fake laughter, they've already made up their minds. And then comes that chilling moment. They toss him into a deep, dark well. Just think about that for a second. A child abandoned by the people who should protect him most, left alone in total darkness, crying out. Man, Can you imagine how terrifying that must have been? The desert night above, the cold water below, and nothing but fear in between. Eventually, a caravan passes by and pulls him out, but it's not a rescue, it's another twist of fate. They sell him as a slave in Egypt. And just like that, Yusuf's life goes from being his father's beloved son to being treated like someone's property. This is where most people would completely break. You lose your family, your freedom, your dignity. It's enough to crush the strongest spirit. But here's where Yusuf stands out. Even as a servant in Egypt, he doesn't sulk. He doesn't collapse into despair. Instead, he shows resilience. His character, his integrity, it shines through. People notice. He becomes known for his honesty, his work ethic, his ability to stay grounded no matter what's thrown at him. And that's the crazy part. While everything on the outside is falling apart, inside he's building something stronger. That's why this story isn't just history, it's a mirror. It's human psychology, it's faith. It's what happens when patience and belief collide with struggle. And the Quran puts it beautifully. Indeed, in Joseph and his brothers there were signs for those who ask. This isn't just about the drama of betrayal. It's a lesson written into human nature. So here we are watching Yusuf go from a dream-filled boy to a betrayed brother to a slave in a foreign land. And yet every step, instead of destroying him, it forges him. And that's what makes this story so powerful. It's not about avoiding hardship. It's about transforming through it. Now here's where the story of Prophet Yusuf hits one of the most powerful turns. After everything he's been through, the betrayal, the slavery, you'd think maybe life finally cuts him a break. But no, another test comes his way. He's falsely accused of something he didn't do, and because of that, he's thrown into prison. And let's be real, prison isn't just about the walls and the locked doors. It's about being forgotten. You're stripped of your freedom, your identity, your future. Most people would crumble under that weight. But Yusuf? He doesn't let prison define him. Instead, he brings light into one of the darkest places on earth. Inside those prison walls, he becomes known for his wisdom, his calm presence. The other inmates look at him differently. They come to him with their struggles, their dreams, their questions. And Yusuf does what he's always done. He listens, he interprets, he gives people hope. That's insane when you think about it. Most of us, if we're locked up unfairly, would be bitter, angry, cursing the system. But Yusuf stays patient. He turns a prison cell into a classroom, into a place of service. One of the most famous moments is when two fellow prisoners come to him with dreams they can't understand. And instead of brushing them off, he helps them. He interprets their dreams with clarity, but he doesn't stop there. He uses the moment to remind them of God, of faith, of something bigger than their struggles. It's like he's saying, even in prison, you can have purpose. Even in chains, you can still choose who you are. That's powerful. Now, here's where the ultimate pivot happens. The king of Egypt himself has this troubling dream. 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 skinny cows, and 7 green stalks of grain followed by 7 dry ones. Nobody in his court can explain it. Nobody has a clue. But then someone remembers Yusuf, the guy in prison who could interpret dreams. And that's the moment, that's the crack in the wall where light pours through. Imagine this. You've been completely written off, forgotten in a cell, and then suddenly the most powerful man in the land is calling for you. Yusuf steps up, interprets the dream with confidence, and not only does he give the king the meaning, 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine, he also lays out the strategy to survive it. He doesn't just diagnose the problem, he gives the solution. That's next level wisdom. And here's what blows my mind. This one skill, this gift, Yusuf had been quietly nurturing all along, is what flips his destiny. The same gift he used to help his cellmates is the gift that lifts him from prison to power. Talk about the ultimate comeback. It's like going from the undercard fighter nobody pays attention to suddenly becoming the champion because you showed up at the right moment with the right skill. The Quran sums it up perfectly. Indeed, Allah does not allow to be lost the reward of those who do good. Yusuf's patience, his integrity, his choice to serve, even in hardship, it all came back to him in the biggest way possible. And this is the turning point. From a forgotten prisoner, he becomes a trusted leader, the one people rely on to save an entire nation. That's not luck. That's the power of resilience, faith, and using your gift, no matter where you are. All right, let's pause here and pull some lessons out of this. Because Yusuf's story isn't just something you hear and go, wow, that's wild. It's something you can actually apply to your life today. First, patience under betrayal and hardship. That's a huge one. Think about it. Your own brothers turn on you, you're sold into slavery, then you end up in prison for something you didn't even do. Most people would snap. Most people would spend the rest of their lives bitter, blaming the world. But Yusuf stayed patient. He held his ground. That patience wasn't weakness, it was strength. And that's something we forget today. Everybody wants instant results, instant revenge, instant success. But real growth? It comes when you can stay calm and steady, even when everything around you is chaos. Second, faith and trust in God's plan. Now, whether you're religious or not, you can't miss this part of the story. Yusuf didn't just tough it out by willpower. He trusted there was a bigger plan unfolding. That's what gave him the strength to keep going when things looked impossible. And honestly, we all need that perspective. Sometimes life hits you with setbacks you can't explain. Sometimes you're doing everything right and it still feels like you're stuck in a pit. But if you can trust that those moments aren't the end of your story, that they're part of shaping you into something greater, it changes how you carry yourself. Third, integrity and resisting temptation. There's a whole part of Yusuf's life where he's tested with temptation, and he chooses the harder road, he chooses integrity. And that's not easy. When you're young, when you're struggling, when opportunities for shortcuts pop up, it's tempting to compromise, but integrity is what keeps your foundation solid. Without it, any success you get will eventually crumble. Yusuf teaches us that character is more valuable than comfort. Fourth, use your unique gift. For Yusuf, it was interpreting dreams. That's what opened the door for him. And here's the thing. Every one of us has some kind of gift, some skill or talent we can develop. The problem is, most people bury theirs because they're waiting for the perfect situation to use it. But Yusuf didn't wait until he was free to use his. He used it in prison when no one important was watching. And that's the key. Your gift becomes powerful when you use it consistently, even in the small places, even when nobody seems to care. And finally, setbacks are often setups for greater opportunities. That's the punchline of this whole story. The pit, the slavery, the prison, they weren't the end. They were the setup for something way bigger. And man, that flips how you see your struggles. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? You can start asking, what is this preparing me for? So yeah, those are the big takeaways. Patience, faith, integrity, using your gift, and reframing setbacks. That's the blueprint right there. Here's the thing about Prophet Yusuf's story. It might sound ancient, but when you break it down, it's as modern as it gets. The prisons might look different now. The betrayals might play out on Twitter instead of in a desert. But the emotions, the struggles, they're exactly the same. Take the prison part. Most of us aren't behind bars, but we all know what it feels like to be trapped. Some people are locked in addictions, alcohol, drugs, porn, gambling. Others are stuck in toxic relationships or jobs they hate but can't leave. And then there's the prison of social media. Man, that one's sneaky. You're not chained to a wall, but you're chained to your phone, refreshing for likes and validation. It's like you're living in this invisible cell where your mood depends on how strangers react to your posts. That's a prison too. And Yusuf shows us how to deal with it. He didn't let prison crush him. He turned it into a place of growth. He served, he helped, he kept using his gift. Imagine if people today took that approach. Instead of scrolling endlessly, what if you spent that time sharpening your skills, learning, creating, building? It's like, man, you don't need to wait for freedom to start growing. You can start right where you are. Then there's betrayal. That one cuts deep in modern life too. Cancel culture is basically betrayal on steroids. One minute you're celebrated, the next minute you're dragged, abandoned, mocked by the same crowd that once cheered for you. Ask any comedian, fighter, or public figure, they'll tell you about moments when everyone counted them out. I've talked to fighters who lost a big match, and suddenly everyone who called them the future champ just disappears. Or comics who bombed a set and their so-called friends started whispering that maybe they didn't belong. That's betrayal, man. That's the modern version of being thrown in the well. But here's the flip side. Just like Yusuf didn't let betrayal define him, people today can use those moments as fuel. Think about redemption stories, fighters coming back from a brutal knockout, comedians turning career flops into their best material, or entrepreneurs who were laughed at until they changed the game. Elon Musk is a great example. People mocked him for years, called him crazy, said electric cars would never work. Now look where Tesla is. That's from prison to power in modern language. And I'll tell you something I've noticed talking to so many people on the podcast. Everybody's got a prison, everybody's got a betrayal, but the ones who rise are the ones who refuse to let that be the last chapter. It's not about what happens to you. It's about how you respond to it. Yusuf could have stayed bitter, stayed broken, but he turned his prison into preparation. And that's exactly what people have to do today. Now, let's lighten it up for a second. Imagine if Yusuf's story happened in 2025. His brothers would have thrown him into a group chat and ghosted him, then sold the story to TMZ. Instead of a caravan, he'd get picked up by some influencer crew filming content in Egypt. And instead of interpreting dreams, he'd be going viral on TikTok as that guy who explains weird dreams with scary accuracy. I mean, come on, that would blow up. But even in that what-if version, the core lesson stays the same. No matter how people try to cancel you, no matter how low you get pushed, your gift will find a way to shine if you keep using it. And here's the serious part. Modern life is actually more dangerous because we've got endless distractions. Yusuf had a physical prison. We've got invisible prisons, social media, comparison, consumer culture that keep us locked without us even realizing it. That's why his story matters right now more than ever. It's a wake-up call. If he could hold on to patience, integrity, and faith through betrayal and prison, then what excuse do we have when our prison is just an app on our phone? So yeah, everyone's got a prison, everyone's got betrayal, but the question is, are you going to let it break you, or are you going to use it to build the strength for your comeback? Here's the part of Prophet Yusuf's story that really blows me away. At every point in his life, he had the choice to be bitter. He had every reason to be angry. Think about it. Your own brothers betray you, toss you into a well, strip away your childhood, sell you off like an object. Later, you get thrown into prison for something you didn't even do. If anyone had a right to scream at the world, to curse everyone around him, it was Yusuf. But he didn't. He chose something radically different. He chose forgiveness. He chose purpose. That's the pivot we miss in our own lives. Because pain, it's inevitable. Everyone listening right now has scars. You've been betrayed, you've been overlooked, you've been stuck in some kind of prison. The question isn't whether you'll suffer, it's what you do with that suffering. And Yusuf shows us the way. He turned pain into growth. He turned betrayal into wisdom. He turned prison into preparation. And when his story comes full circle, when those same brothers who betrayed him stand in front of him years later, desperate for food, completely vulnerable, what does he do? He forgives them. Not because they deserved it, but because he refused to let bitterness define him. That's next level strength. That's not weakness, that's power. The ability to say, you didn't break me, you shaped me. That's where the story shifts from being ancient history to being a roadmap for all of us. Because let's be real, you can't always control what people do to you, but you can control how you respond. And that response determines whether you stay trapped or whether you rise. From betrayal to power, from prison to leadership, from hopelessness to victory. That's the arc. And it's not just Yusuf's arc, it can be yours too. Every prison has a door. Every night has a sunrise. And every setback carries the seed of a comeback. I've seen this truth over and over again in the people I've spoken with. Fighters who were counted out after devastating losses but came back stronger than ever. Entrepreneurs who went bankrupt only to rebuild empires. Regular people who hit rock bottom with addiction and somehow clawed their way back to life. That resilience, that unbreakable spirit, it's the same fire Yusuf carried inside him. The challenge is whether you can carry it inside you. Can you resist the temptation to get stuck in bitterness? Can you resist letting betrayal turn into hatred? Can you hold on to patience when life feels like a cage? If Yusuf could do it, sitting in a cold prison cell with no guarantee of freedom, what excuse do we really have? That's the message that's burning here. Your pain is not the end of your story. It's the part that forges you, the part that sharpens you for something greater. Don't waste it. Don't drown it in distractions. Don't bury it in bitterness. Use it. Let it build you into someone unshakable. Because at the end of the day, Yusuf's story isn't about surviving. It's about transforming. It's about proving that no betrayal, no prison, no setback is stronger than faith, patience, and purpose. And if you can lock into that, if you can carry that mindset, then your worst chapter might just be the opening scene of your greatest victory. So here's where I want to leave you. Ask yourself, what's your prison? What's that thing in your life that keeps you stuck, that makes you feel like you can't move forward? Maybe it's an addiction. Maybe it's depression. Maybe it's the weight of other people's opinions holding you back. Whatever it is, the question is, how are you going to use it to grow? Prophet Yusuf's story isn't just some tale you hear and then move on from. It's a map. It shows you that even when the world betrays you, even when you're locked down, forgotten, or pushed aside, you can still hold on to faith, patience, and integrity. And if you do, eventually the doors open. Eventually the night breaks into sunrise. The Quran says it so simply, so beautifully. So indeed, with hardship will be ease. Indeed, with hardship will be ease. 94 to 5, 6. That's not just poetry. That's reality. The struggle you're in right now carries the seeds of your ease, your growth, your breakthrough. So don't waste it. Don't sit in your prison and complain. Don't drown your betrayal in bitterness. Flip it. Turn it into the thing that builds you, just like Yusuf did. From betrayal to power, from prison to leadership, from hopelessness to victory. And here's my challenge. Share it. Drop a comment and be real. What's your prison? What's your struggle? Because you never know who's going to read it and realize they're not alone. Your story could be the thing that sparks someone else's comeback. But more than that, sit with yourself for a moment and really ask, am I letting my pain bury me or am I letting it shape me? Because that's the choice. And remember, if Yusuf could rise after everything he went through, betrayed by family, sold as a slave, locked in prison, then you can rise from your struggles too. Your story's not over. You're not done. The door's there. The sunrise is coming. All you got to do is take that first step toward it.